Hello and welcome back. This is Grillenheimer. Uh, Thanks for following. I'm at a cemetery where my great grandparents are buried. Excuse me, one great. Right there. And I'm always drawn to this old cemetery. It's about a good hour away from where I live. So it's a bit of a drive, and I don't get to come down here very often. I don't. But my grandfather, my dad maybe not so much, my grandfather really instilled in me the power and the strength and the heritage of your last name. And I was here before, and I came, I saw, took a few pictures and left, and I'm like, wait, let me go back and let me do a video. Because I feel very kind of, again, led to sort of do this. And on my way back, without giving too much information away, personal information, that I think I know what happened here. My great-grandfather, I never knew him, never saw him, never met him. But he was left across the seas. His parents came over to America separately. His dad came first, and then I think his mom did a year or two later. They left him, he was about 5 years old. When he was about 12 or 13, that was an adult back then. He was living with his mother's parents. He was living with his grandparents, but they had a different last name. And his parents were not married when he was born. So he was born out of wedlock. And so his grandparents may have had some animosity towards his dad. He came to America first, and then followed by his mother. And then about 7-8 years later, he finally came over. But when he came over through Ellis Island, legally, he signed the wrong name. We had to look him up. Gosh, I'm trying not to just divulge my personal information here. But he signed under a different name. And it wasn't his last name. It was the last name of his grandparents. And it's very possible that's what he thought he was. There could have been some animosity that his parents left him. And when they finally did come to America, they did get married, and they had another child. And he ended up and when he finally came over here, he finally got to meet his baby daughter, his little daughter. Sister. I'm so sorry, sister. Where are you going with this, Gronheimer? Well, once he found out what his real last name was, that's his last name, which is the same last name as mine. And that's how we're connected. And he was my grandfather's dad, and he was not exactly a tall fella. He's taller than me. My grandfather made it out that I was his height. And after looking at a picture of him, I'm thinking, no, he was taller than me. My great grandfather was very hard on all his 8 kids, including my grandfather. But my grandfather, despite how strict this man was, and he had to be strict because all his kids were probably taller than he was, or just about, my grandfather had a love for him, an undying, loyal love for his dad. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. That's what we're missing today. That's what we're missing. If you're not hard on your kids, your kids are not going to love you back. We can't be their best friend. And I've made that mistake with one of my kids, and I'm trying to rectify that with my second kid. Of course, they're kind of close, but they're teenagers now. But you don't need to treat your kids like a slave or anything degenerate like that. But we got to be hard on our kids. And sometimes it can go the wrong way, and they will not love you back. But we got to make sure our kids know where the line is. And if you can't say no to your kid, to your child, we have problems. And the problems we're seeing are what we're having right now with all the gender mess going on, confusion, mass confusion of emotion, letting your emotions rule you. And that's one thing my dad and my grandfather taught me, as taught by this man right here, to not let your emotions rule you. And no, it's not Vulcan. It's human. And I don't like using the word human flippantly like everybody else does. We're people. I'm a person. But we've got to be hard on our kids, or they will run all over us. And that's what we're seeing in this society right now, is the failure of many parents failing to say no. No, you can't have this. No, you don't need to eat that. No, you don't need to go there. No, you're a boy. No, you are a girl. Why do you think that? No, you don't need to be on that social media. And like I said, I've made a few of these errors myself. None of us are infallible. None of us. We're broken people in a broken world. And that's why it took Jesus to come and die for us, to let us know this is how you need to live. This is how you need to set restrictions for yourself. The world is going to say otherwise. We all need to have some sort of self-control. And I may be talking about the patriarchy a little bit, but let me tell you something. Behind every great man is an even better woman. Because the woman next to him put him in his place every time. You know what she even told him when they finally got their first car, which was a Model T, I think? Let you know how long ago that was? She's like, you are not driving that car. You can work on it all you want and tinker on it and make sure it's working. I'm driving the car. She drove that car. That car was hers. And they had one car for a family of 10. Think about that. And I just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for being with me. Grillenheimer coming from a cemetery. And let's tie this to a video game real quick before I end this. I'm trying to see how long I've gone. The Belmonts, Castlevania. I was listening to the music in the car on the way here. And all through most of the Castlevania games, there's always somebody tied to a Belmont, or their last name is Belmont, or Joe Smith, or whatever it was, in Bloodlines or whatever. John Smith. And it wasn't so much that they had power of the name Belmont, that the vampires feared them so much. And I'm talking about the early 8-bit, 16-bit game stuff. The 3 games on the NES, the one on the SNES, and then the one on the Genesis, and maybe Symphony of the Night on the PlayStation 1. Before it all went 3D and just got darker and darker and cinematic and all that. I kind of disregard those a little bit. Some of them are kind of fun. But it wasn't so much that the Belmonts had some sort of magic, or the Belmonts were the ones that they were the only ones that could do it. It was the Belmont family that felt like they had an obligation to snuff out the darkness. They had the obligation, we can do this. And if you go back and play the original game or two, that's all they had was a whip, maybe a dagger. There was no magic. It was just items, things you would find and pick up in the game to try to destroy the zombies and the bats and the wolves and Dracula and Frankenstein or whoever. Whatever they picked up was what they used to try to vanquish evil. Because based in the game story, nobody else could, it wasn't so much nobody else could do it, nobody else would. And so it was up to this Belmont family, as written in the game, to go vanquish the evil. And, you know, I don't have the booklet from the old NES. I'm sure there's a little more to it than that. But if you know your family history, for the good or the bad, and if it was bad in the past, make it better. Go forward. If you were adopted and you don't know where your history's from, fine. Establish one. Keep going forward. Don't worry so much on a past that you may not know. Make your own future. Family name is important because it gives us a nice foundation of where we came from. And that's why also a Christian foundation is very important for your spiritual health. So we can keep going forward. Trying to dismiss evil, dissolve angst, anger, and hatred, spreading the love and goodness and kindness whenever we can. That's the best we can do. And yeah, I'm bringing this back to Jesus again, because it takes that part of Him in you to be able to make that change. To leave your past behind you and keep going forward, or make a new foundation your own and make whatever family you need, because we need people. We need to stop doing this with our phones and start looking out and up. And cemeteries are here to remind us of where we came from and where we're going. Where are you going? A question you need to start asking yourself and me. Thanks for watching. Have a blessed day. We'll see you next time.